All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We really appreciate your, I'm sorry, hopping on another Zoom meeting, but we're really grateful to PCCY and the Lead Coalition and Community Action Agency and all for working together to provide the information and resources that we need to improve housing and health in our communities, with a focus on getting the lead out of the homes of families with young children. I mean, this is an area that has older housing stock. I'm sitting in a home that was built over 100 years ago. So as we've tried to fix things over the years, we've had to deal with lead paint in this house. But so lead poisoning is still a real danger for Delaware County babies and children, and Philadelphia babies and children. So we know that across the state, nearly 10,000 children contract lead poisoning each year, and 350 of them are in Delaware County. That's just the kids we know about, because the testing is not as robust or universal as we would like it to be. It can cause a lifetime, lead poisoning can cause a lifetime of substantial learning and emotional problems for children, and has significant societal costs. I mean, we end up with more children who need early intervention or special education services. It can cause behavior issues as they age, and they can end up with problems with the criminal justice system or employment issues. So we know that the #1 source of lead poisoning is lead dust from deteriorated paint in homes built before the ban on lead paint in 1978. It's particularly an issue in rental homes and apartments. And because of the pandemic, we've got children spending more time at home. So that's why it's very timely for us to have this conversation. Today, we've got some resources that we want to share with you and your staff and your residents about 2 free lead hazard reduction programs that are sponsored by HUD, Housing and Urban Development, specifically for Delaware County residents. So these programs test houses and apartments for lead and get the lead out if it is found. So the programs are available to both homeowners and landlords, and are an invaluable resource to sustain and improve our local housing, particularly rental housing. We're also going to share some information about other housing rehab and weatherization programs for county residents. And together, these programs can help improve our housing and increase neighborhood vitality in our communities. So improvements to housing obviously have many benefits, including adding to the physical and social attractiveness of the neighborhood, which can lead to increased community pride in homes, whether it's renters or owners, lowering vandalism and violence rates in a neighborhood. The research is increasingly strong that these kind of community cleanup programs can actually provide the additional benefits of crime reduction. Increasing property values, which is obviously good for homeowners and landlords, and then increasing our local tax bases, which helps us provide more services in our community. And then energy conservation and resources, so we can have a healthier, safer place for families to live. So for all these reasons, we're really, really thrilled to be able to host this today and help try to push out the information, which you can then share with your residents, your landlords, et cetera, to try to lift all housing up. So with that, we'll turn it over to Beth to map out where we go from here.
Great. Thank you so much, Congresswoman Scanlon. And thank you again for your office agreeing to host this meeting. And I want to thank Rose and Rita and Heather in your office for all of their help in putting this together. I certainly couldn't have done it without your help and assistance, and we really appreciate that. I am Beth Dougherty, and I work at Public Citizens for Children and Youth, which is a child advocacy organization. We're located in Philadelphia, and I facilitate the Delaware County Lead Poisoning Prevention Coalition. And the coalition is a group of people from healthcare, from social service organizations. We've got municipal staff and managers. We have code enforcement officials, and we also have folks from the managed care plans that work with your families in Delaware County. And so we've all come together. The coalition's about 2 years old now, to try to prevent childhood lead poisoning in Delaware County. So that's a little bit of background about the coalition. Just to walk you through the rest of the meeting, we're going to start off the meeting by hearing from Nasia Hill from the Office of Housing and Community Development and John Forte from Community Action Agency about their HUD-led remediation programs, and again about other weatherization and home improvement programs that they have at those agencies. As part of your invite today, we put together a little bit of a one-pager that has information about those programs, and I'm also going to drop that into the chat. So if you'd like to download that, and we'll send it out after the meeting as well. It's just got information consolidated about all these programs. And then we're going to talk about how we can protect children in rental properties using code enforcement and inspections and your municipal ordinances that require inspections to try to keep kids more safe in rental housing. So we're going to talk through how you can use some of your existing protective measures in place to protect kids from lead poisoning. And so what I'd like to do, I know we've got a lot of people in the room, but I would just like to do a quick set of introductions. I think that the easiest thing for me to do would be to simply call on people, and I'm going to call on you as I see you on my screen. And just if you could give your name and your title and which municipality that you work for. And if you're a Lead Coalition member, we've got several members from the Lead Coalition on the call today, just your name and what organization you're with. And that would be terrific. And start, Rose, up at the top with you.
All right, welcome everyone. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen since we've seen the agenda. I just wanted to show that.
Thanks so much.
Everyone, of course. My name is Rose Rice. I am the District Scheduler and Operations Manager for Congresswoman Scanlon. And I am just thankful for Beth for being so knowledgeable on this subject and helping us organize this event for today.
Thanks so much. Rita.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you. My name is Rita Waters. You received emails from me. I work with Beth and Heather. I'm the events coordinator, which is now the Zoom coordinator.
Thanks, Rita. Megan.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Megan Swider. I'm the Community Development Manager with the Office of Housing and Community Development. I work primarily on CDBG and home-funded county activities.
Thanks so much. And Barbara. Oh, Barbara, you're on mute.
Barbara Kelly, Upper Chichester Township Assistant Township Manager.
Thank you. And Nasia.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nasia Hill from the Office of Housing and Community Development. I am a lead specialist in the lead hazard reduction program.
Terrific. Thanks. Christy.
Morning, everybody. My name is Christy Fournier, and I'm the program coordinator for the Delaware County Office of Early Intervention for the Infants and Toddler Program.
Thanks. Colleen.
Good morning. I'm Colleen McCauley. I work with Beth at Public Citizens for Children and Youth, and I direct our health work.
Thank you. David.
Hi, this is Dave Berman. I'm with Haverford Township. I'm the Township Manager.
Thank you. And Jordan.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Jordan Casey, attorney with MLP, partner with the Foundation for Delaware County, and I'm also a member of the Delaware Coalition.
Thanks, Jordan. Steve.
Steve Fisher, I'm a coalition member. Good morning, everyone, and I'm with the Chester Housing Authority.
Great, thank you. April.
Good morning, my name is April McNeil. I'm with Maternity Care Coalition, program manager for Healthy Families America Momobile, and we do home visiting for prenatal families up until the child's 3rd birthday. And I'm also a coalition member as well.
Thanks, April. And Dr. Williams.
Good morning. I'm Pastor Tracy Williams from the River Church. I'm a part of the Lead Coalition movement. I am new to it, and I'm just happy to be here.
Great. It's so nice to actually see you in person. Katie.
Good morning, I'm Katie Kenyon. I'm with the Foundation for Delaware County. I work with our public health programs.
Thank you. And Iwana.
Good morning. Iwana Borax-Pilahat, a nurse for Pennsylvania Department of Health, a member of the coalition.
Thanks so much. Andrew.
Andrew Weldon. I'm the borough manager here in Marcus Hook Borough. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Tina.
Hello, I'm Tina. I'm the community health educator from Chespen.
Great. Thanks, Tina. And Marianne. Marianne, you're on.
Sorry, my space bar never seems to want to work. Some people have luck with that trick. I don't seem to have luck. I'm the township, Mary Ann Furlong, the township manager from Chad's Ford. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And Nicole.
Good morning, Nicole Whitaker, Darby Township Manager.
Great. Thank you. Dave Grady.
Good morning, Dave Grady, Township Manager, Another Providence.
Thank you. And Sarah.
Good morning. I'm the Housing Program Specialist at OHTD. I work with Megan and Nessia.
Thank you. And Craig. Nope, you're on mute.
Hello, Craig Totar, the manager of the Lansdowne Borough. Thank you.
Thanks. And Mark.
Good morning, Mark Pisani, manager in Darby Borough.
Thank you. And Heather.
Hi, Heather Boyd, District Director for Congresswoman.
Great, thanks. And now I've switched my screen, so let me catch up with where I am. Okay, Sydney.
Good morning. My name is Sydney Mullen, and I'm a youth prevention specialist with Crozier Health.
Wonderful, thank you. And Vicki. Hi, Vicki. Are you there?
Hi, Vicki. I'm a quality coach for the ELR 15 in Delaware County.
Thanks so much. And Anisha. Anisha, are you with us? All right.
Oh, sorry, I was having trouble getting unmuted.
Anisha,
I'm Anisha Hanna. I'm with Crozier Health, prevention specialist.
Wonderful, thank you. And Karen. Karen, are you there? All right, we'll move on to Miranda.
Hi, I'm Miranda Presswood, Borough Manager, Eden Borough.
Thank you. And Tracy.
Good morning, everyone. Health Partners Plan.
Thank you. And then I've got a couple people on the phone. So who is with 610-357-3929? Hello, are you there? 610-357. Okay, we'll move on. And who is with 484-496-7514? Well, I'm hoping that we're not having problems getting people connected on the phone. If you are one of our phone-in callers, if you want to just take yourself on mute at some point, let us know that you're with us. That would be terrific. And I think that that is everybody. So great. So thanks so much. So we're going to start off today and we're going to hear from Nessia Hill, and he is the lead program specialist at the Office of Housing and Community Development, and he's going to walk us through their HUD lead remediation program and also some other home improvement and weatherization programs that they have. Nessia?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nessia Hill. So here at the Office of Housing and Community Development, we have several funding opportunities for those that may be in need. There's the Homeownership First program, which provides counseling up to $5,000 of a down payment and closing costs for first-time home buyers, but the home must be in Delaware County. The funding is limited, so just because you go through the counseling part of the program, it doesn't mean you'll get the $5,000 at the end. Then there's the Blighted Property Demolition Fund, which provides funding for local municipality governments for the demolition of a blighted property. And there's 9 stated criteria for the home to be done, for the home to be, I'm sorry, 1 second. I'm sorry. There's the Housing Rehab Loan Program, which provides qualified homeowners housing. I'm sorry, 1 second. Hello, everybody. I'm sorry. My computer internet was going in and out. I apologize. Or was that? There's the Housing Rehabilitation Loan Program, which provides low-income, moderate homeowners with 0% loans up to $15,000 for major home system repairs, such as HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and roofing. The program is currently on hold due to COVID. There's a year-long waiting list, and the townships of Upper Darby, Chester, and Haverford don't qualify due to having their own CBDG funding at this time. And finally, there is the Lead Hazard and Reduction Program, which is running at full capacity. The program is about a year old. There's qualifications for homeowners and landlords. Homeowners must have a child under the age of 6 in the home, at least 6 hours per week. And for landlords, they must have at least 50% of the property, 50% of their properties available for lead remediation for low-income families. And the other 50% has to be available for low-income families under the 80% threshold. And we're allowed to remediate those properties without children being in the home. So we can do vacant properties. And the funding for that program is up to $18,000 per home as needed. I can go a little further if I get inception from HUD. And those that qualify for both programs may be able to get expedited service. So if you're in the lead program, you may be able to get expedited service in the housing rehab program. Does anybody have any questions?
Thanks, Missy. What's really great about these programs, well, particularly the HUD-led programs, is that they are available to both homeowners and landlords, right, as Nissia was saying. And so, you know, one of the things that we're working really hard to do, and where we'd really love to enlist everyone's assistance, is finding better ways to reach out to landlords to make them aware of these programs and make them aware that if they rent to tenants, right, who are otherwise eligible, that they qualify for these programs. So that's one of the things that we're really working on. So thanks, Nissia. Now, John Forte from Community Action Agency, I know was having a little trouble getting on Zoom and he was going to call in. So John, are you there? Are you able to unmute yourself on your phone and call in? Are you with us, John? Okay. Well, it doesn't sound like John is, so I'm going to just present a little bit on John's programs. John also, Community Action Agency, also has a HUD-led remediation grant that's basically the same as the one at OHCD. There are some small differences, but in general, the eligibility and income limits for those programs are the same. It's the same as with Nissia. I know that John has plenty of availability left in his program. So if you have residents who want to get their homes tested and get the lead out, if you've got landlords who are interested in the program, John absolutely has funding left to remediate homes, and you should feel free to call. Again, I put the sheet that we put together with information about all of these programs. It's in the chat, so you can find the contact information for both John and Nissia there. and we'll also be sending it out to everybody after the meeting. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of John's other programs. So Community Action Agency, they have a what's called their Safe and Healthy Home Services program. And you'll forgive me if I'm reading a little bit, but it's comprehensive free home assessments that provide education, resources, and interventions, and they prevent safety problems and injuries in the home. And they focus on keeping homes dry and clean, pest-free, safe, ventilated, poison-free, and maintained. And so homeowners and renters are available. There needs to be a household member who is under 22, or a pregnant woman in the home. And the household must also include a child with asthma, a child at risk for lead exposure because they live in an older home, that are pests or other safety hazards. And so the income eligibility, if you are enrolled in WIC or in LIHEAP, Medicaid, free or reduced school lunch, one of the Nurse Family Partnership programs, you're automatically eligible for this program, or your household needs to be under 300% of federal poverty guidelines. And so again, there's information in the document about how you would apply for that program. Community Action Agency also, and many of you are probably aware, for many years has been providing free weatherization services for low-income families. And they improve the energy efficiency, they do home energy audits, they do weather stripping, caulking, window and door replacement, for refrigerator testing and replacement. And again, both homeowners and renters are eligible for this program. SSI and TANF recipients automatically qualify, or for the income guidelines, no more than 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. And just recently, CAA has opened up their weatherization program beyond low-income families to other families and businesses in Delaware County for a small fee. And so it's certainly, sort of under market rates to get that kind of work done. And anybody who does utilize that program, the fees that you pay, part of that goes to support all of the good work that they do at Community Action Agency. So that's information about these programs. And so I'd like to just do a little bit of ask some questions. So are there folks, who in your communities do you think would really benefit from hearing about these programs, and would love to hear from municipal managers about how you think we can best get the word out about these lead remediation programs, about these home improvement programs to your homeowners and to your landlords and to your tenants? So unmute yourself, please, and if you've got any thoughts on that, love to hear them.
Sure. This is Andrew Weldon from Marcus Hook Borough.
Great.
I went to the, Beth, thanks for reaching out on this program. I went to the press conference last year, and we shared that on our website and our social media, and it's something, if there's something that the county might be able to kind of put together, with all the pertinent info on a document, I'd be happy to share that through the same channels. I think one resident that I know of took advantage of the program, so certainly good that lead paint was removed from that household here in the borough. But certainly would encourage if you could put something together with like the the high level information so that we can get it to our residents. But that would be something that I would think would be probably the best method to get it to our residents would be via our social media and our website.
Great, thank you. And hopefully the information in the chat will be helpful to you. I'm sorry, someone else was wanting to speak.
One of the other things, Barb Kelly from Upper Chi, one of the other things I was thinking of is all the landlords with the apartment buildings who actually have the audience that you described. That would be really helpful. And also the school district, getting it out to the, other partners in the program to get to families. We have Heart and Soul program where we have a newsletter that we can get it out to. So we're really gathering a lot of partners in helping the community. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we can do is work with them. And the Action Agency is in Chichester, so that's good that we can actually work with them and set up. Can't do it with COVID with the meetings, but we could do like a Chi Chat type of thing on it.
Oh, great.
To invite people to Chi Chats on the Zoom.
That would be wonderful. Thank you. Do other managers have programs where you're getting online with your residents? And Craig, I think you've got your hand up, but you're on mute.
Hi, sorry, I didn't let you finish, but I did have a follow-up to, I think that's Andrew and Barbara's comment about, but I think it's helpful to package, if you will, in maybe 2 or 3 different ways. So we have a newsletter, so that could be a little bit of a longer introduction, and then could maybe point to something that goes out electronically. Then there's also social media, so maybe just a shorter, quicker, catchier blurb that can have a link, and there may be other venues, but there's normally, and then there's just our static website that something would sit there. So I think pushing that stuff out to your listserv group here, and then saying this is great for the for your website, this for your newsletter, this for your social media. That's very helpful, because I think it gives a more likelihood that that's going to just, oh, that's easy, good, I can just link that. Other than, okay, that window then may sit open. If I have to write and, you know, do some of that tailoring myself, let's do it once for everybody. That's my recommendation.
Great, thank you so much. And we have developed some of these things, and it's for newsletters, we have blurbs, and we have some social media graphics. And so it's so helpful to hear that having it segmented in that way that you think will be helpful. So thanks, that's really great information to have.
Can I ask a question? If we do set up like a chai chat or something like that, would one of the officials, like yourself or somebody on this call, would they join the conversation and help facilitate it?
I would absolutely be happy to, and I'm sure Nasia, I think, would you be able to do that as well?
Yes, Beth, yes, correct.
Okay. Terrific, absolutely. And I'm going to put my contact information in the chat. And again, we'll do a follow-up after this, a follow-up email to everybody with contact information. We also have a lead training that we've developed, that the coalition has developed, which I have given and can do over Zoom quite easily, but I would be more than happy to do that. All right, so thank you so much.
I just wanted to share, Beth, I'm sorry. I just wanted to share, that's the key there, even though you guys were answering it. It's the marketing and advertising part for us as it relates to the church. As long as I have some information like a flyer, even for the lead training, you know, I can get that information out to everyone that we know, my husband and I, Pastor Charles, that we're connected to. And that should definitely draw some folks in. Okay.
Great, thank you so much. And I see 2 hands. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to grab these hands up, and then Vincent, I'll get you.
Sure.
I see Andrew Heyman, your hand is up.
Yep. So just wanted to, I think actually a couple of things were addressed since I put my hand up, so I apologize, but just wanted to reiterate, we actually had a really successful event back in February when we could do events with Habitat for Humanity and their home repair program. And so something like that for our residents. I'm not sure if the residents who need these programs would be capable of doing a Zoom meeting, but if there's another way, even an outdoor event, especially if things start to get better, yeah, we could do it in our parking lot here. We'd be glad to host one and to meet with our residents. I think for a lot of people, these programs are confusing, and understandably, but a lot of people could benefit, and they get frustrated in the application process or finding out if they qualify, and they just don't go forward. People really like that one-on-one, you know, hands-on communication with a representative and expert. I think we ultimately had almost a dozen applications for the home repair program submitted, and our office has facilitated that. We've scanned and sent over the applications to residents. The other thing we do, and I don't know fully how to the mechanism here to work this out, but partnering with our code enforcement office. Code enforcement seems to be the #1 way we encounter these people. And I joined the meeting late, so I apologize if this was addressed, but that seems to be the #1 way we encounter residents who need assistance with home repairs. And so to be able to divert them to a program like you provided in some way, instead of, or to an individual, and with us facilitating it, would be really helpful, instead of having to find the person for something that they might need help with. And also we sometimes find other things that we can help them with on top of the initial violation. So that would be good too. But yeah, an event in the near future would be great.
Yeah, thank you so much. And, you know, before COVID, we were trying as hard as we could to get out there, and we certainly hope to do it again as it gets warmer and as things sort of improve, and absolutely. So thank you. Those are really helpful comments. And Colleen, I see your hand up.
Sure. Thanks. Again, I'm Colleen McCauley from PCCY. So two things. One thing that Andrew just said, and one that Barbara mentioned about sharing this information with code enforcement officials in the municipalities. And then Barbara, you mentioned landlords. So I'm interested in your thoughts about how to get this information into landlords' hands. How do you work with them, and also into the code enforcement officials? Are they the ways that people have already talked about, or do you need additional, or do we need to create additional ways to get the information into code enforcement and landlords' hands?
I mean, if you're asking myself and Andrew, our code enforcement person's on this call, Keith. So, hopefully, the two of us, and we'll get with the township manager and a couple other, and our emergency services group to, coordinate it as a group effort. And the landlord tenant, landlords actually go through our UNO, of course, a lot of townships know that. So they have all the names and numbers of all those people. So either we could do like a mailing, which would be nice if you had the mailing, or we could do it, we call it a chai chat with landlords. But, through our economic development group, we also, talk to them a lot. And then also the, our news, we have a couple newsletters in our community that are going out. So putting them on that, that helps. So I think Nicole is our commissioner. She's on the call also. We just did a plan for Linwood Heights, and one of the things that came up was a landlord tenant association. So, we're thinking of, creating something like that, which be, that'd be a really good avenue for us to do that. So, and our Keith's on here, and he's our enforcement guy, and he has a lot of communication with the public also, and our zoning officer also does. So getting other people involved is really, I think, the key, is to make it a group effort and educate the people who are actually getting it out to the community. So I hope that answered your question.
And on our end, just to follow up, the way that, and I apologize, I don't know who asked the question, but I've trained our staff to sort of keep an eye out for these things. So the instinct, instead of is just to issue the fine, is to actually find out, to think what programs or services maybe this person could qualify for. Frequently that's through DHS. So I have PA 600 forms, general applications for benefits on hand that I can scan and send over to a point of contact that I have at DHS. Or in this case, we keep Habitat for Humanity's home repair program applications on hand. When we encounter these issues, they're usually brought to my attention pretty quickly. But I've also trained office staff to do this, provide these services as well. So to have sort of everybody here on the same page, when you encounter a person in need, instead of, I think previously they had been looked at, these tickets or fines have been used as a punitive thing to scare people into correcting the issue, and that's there. But instead of collecting the money and making the person's situation harder, and then they're less likely to correct the issue, it's to divert them to a program like this and then release the issue. I can even tell you just today, we have a homeowner that I dropped, I believe it'll ultimately be 10 or 15 fines for. And we got them on our bulk trash pickup, we got them in touch with Habitat for Humanity, and we got another couple of programs. And if they commit to work with those programs, that's when we'll drop the fine entirely.
That's one.
But everybody
great.
on that page.
Thank you so much. That's so helpful. Such an interesting way to approach that. And as I'm going to talk a little bit more about code enforcement, that's really terrific. Thank you for that. And Vincent, I think that you wanted to make a comment.
Oh, yeah, sure. So, I mean, first, just want to thank Congresswoman Scanlon and her staff for putting this all together. Really appreciate Rita and Rose and Heather and the Congresswoman for doing that. And PCCY and the Lead Poisoning Prevention Coalition. I mean, all the partners. This is really important stuff, and it means a lot in Upper Darby. So I did want to say thank you. Couple of points about how we try to do it. There are times when Upper Darby is in regular contact with the landlords, right? If you're sending out a mailing every year around rental license renewal, that's a good time to put information in there, right? The rental renewal mailing might only have 1 or 2 sheets of paper, but that stamp might be good for 5, 6, 7 sheets of paper. And so information about these programs, we've been putting in information about trash can lids, how to properly recycle, how to fix your sewer lateral. So I would look at that rental license renewal as a key time to maximize getting information to landlords. Same thing, use and occupancy. You know, at property transfer, don't miss the opportunity at property transfer to get this information out there. We've even updated some ordinances to make certain things a requirement at the time of transfer. And, you know, it takes time, right? Because some properties don't turn over for 20 years. But the thing is, if you don't put the system in place and start now, you're just falling further and further behind. So those are some ideas that we've done in Upper Darby, kind of taking advantage of those pressure points, because your code enforcement people are never gonna find everything. It's not like they can walk down the block and smell lead paint and go and knock on the door or whatever. Like, you got to take advantage of the opportunities that you have. And then my specific question for Upper Darby, and I don't want to waste the majority of folks on the call's time, but for Upper Darby, Haverford, and Chester, we have our own CDBG programs. We have our own relationship with HUD. How do you recommend that how do we maximize the parts that we can share, maybe the advertising or some amount of public awareness, while understanding that we kind of have to execute on our own because we don't go through the county? Like, any recommendations for Haverford, Upper Darby, and Chester on that front?
I think anyone from Haverford on the call, or? Okay, well, I'm gonna go ahead and move on from that unless someone wants to comment real quick, but.
Yeah. So this.
Sorry
yeah.
about that. This is Dave Berman from Haverford. Vince, I'll get with you to talk about ways that we might be able to work on this together. I look forward to that.
Okay, cool. That'd be great. I mean, because, right, we use all of our money, so it's not like we're deficient in advertising necessarily, but there's more programs and things. So that sounds great. Thanks, David.
Great. Thank you, guys. So I'm going
to. I'm sorry. I just also want to just make sure it's crystal clear that when it comes to home improvement related to removing lead hazards, every municipality, residents in every municipality are eligible for the lead hazard removal dollars.
Sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So thanks so much. And actually, Vince, I'm going to use what you said about ordinances and amending some of your ordinances to move into the next part of what we'd like to talk about today. And so I want to just talk a little bit more quickly about the dangers of lead paint. And Congresswoman Scanlon said, you know, that again, lead paint is the primary way that kids get poisoned, and they get poisoned when they live in older homes. And so just a couple of statistics for you, although lead paint was banned in 1978, so 81% of the housing in Delaware County was built before the ban on lead paint. And in terms of rental units, 93% of the rental units in Delaware County were built before the ban on lead paint. So in that housing, unless you have completely renovated down to the studs, there's lead paint underneath there. And what people don't always understand about lead poisoning is children can definitely get lead poisoned by eating lead paint chips, but the most common way that they get poisoned is lead paint dust, right? It can come from chipping and peeling paint, absolutely. And then it also comes from friction, right? So if somebody's opening and shutting windows over a period of time and you wear down the safe paint and you get down to the lead-based paint, and then the dust spreads. It spreads from the ceiling and the chipping, peeling paint. It spreads from the windowsills, and then it spreads on the floor, and it spreads on the sills themselves. And as our little ones are crawling around or they're learning to walk, as everyone knows, little kids put their fingers in their mouth. Or, you know, when you're learning how to walk, you grab onto a windowsill, right? How many times have we all seen our kids or somebody else's kids put their mouth right on a windowsill? And lead dust tastes sweet. A lot of people don't know that, right? And so if you're a little one and you realize every time you crawl over in front of a particular window and you put your fingers in your mouth, it tastes good, you're going to keep doing that. And the amount of lead dust that it takes to poison a baby or a toddler is minuscule, right? It's less than 1/100th of a sugar packet. I was just absolutely shocked when I learned that. So it's so important that particularly in rental units, that we are trying to protect families from living in rental units that have chipping and peeling paint. And within your current code enforcement structure, there are some ways that this can be done. So for example, there are municipalities that require that chipping and peeling paint be remediated. And actually I need to backtrack for just one second. The most important thing that you can do is, and many municipalities in fact do this, is you require either a rental license or an occupancy permit from landlords. And then what you do is you tie passing the inspection by the code enforcement official to getting this license or getting the occupancy permit. And again, many municipalities in Delaware County, of course, always do this, but this is a terrific way to try to catch this chipping and peeling paint and have landlords correct the problem before they can get their rental license or their occupancy permit. So then again, you've got municipalities like Yeadon, for example, that very specifically call out chipping and peeling paint. And if you've got that in a rental property, your property won't pass inspection. And Mary Nixon, who's a code enforcement official from Yeadon, was going to join us on this call. And I can't see the entire screen. Everybody, Mary, are you on? Were you able to join the call? So I'll fill you in a little bit more about Yeadon in a minute, but Mary is just one of our kind of rock star code enforcement officers. And she had the experience of meeting a family where the child was poisoned pretty severely by lead paint in a rental unit. And ever since that time, she has really taken it upon herself to inspect for chipping and peeling paint. And because Yeadon does require that to be fixed, she sort of got that extra bootstrap enforcement behind her to make this happen. And, you know, Mary goes into closets and Mary goes into places where you don't always see. And she looks for the chipping and peeling paint and she cites it on her inspection report. And, you know, it makes landlords have to correct this problem. So it's really a terrific example of existing ordinances that provide for this. If you live in a municipality, a lot of municipalities in Delaware County, and I'm sure all you municipal managers know this, if you have adopted the International Property Maintenance Code, that also requires that chipping and peeling paint be fixed, you know, as part of the overall property maintenance in a municipality. So again, although it's not called out exactly specifically in your municipal code, it's the same. So if you've adopted the property code, then that is a great way to call this out for landlords and require that it be fixed, right? And I loved what Andrew was saying about enforcement mechanisms, right? You know, all municipalities for violations, there are enforcement provisions, right? You know, if a landlord won't comply with bringing their rental property up to code so they can pass inspection, you can certainly bring an enforcement action, and there's fines and there's penalties that are associated with those enforcement actions. But Andrew, again, I love what you said about, as opposed to making it punitive, to sort of offering incentives to bring landlords into compliance with that, right? And then forgiving those fines and penalties. But it's certainly sort of another arrow in the quiver to think about ultimately about having these enforcement mechanisms. And then the other thing, so, you know, we did some looking into the various codes for municipalities, and there are plenty of municipalities that don't specifically call out chipping and peeling paint, or they haven't adopted the International Property Maintenance Code. But most municipalities, as part of their property maintenance code, say that rental properties, that they have to be in safe condition, safe and sound condition, that walls and ceilings have to be healthy and sanitary, or safe and sound. And so what I would like to say to that is that, as we've been talking about, chipping and peeling lead paint's not safe, right? It's not safe for kids, it's not sanitary, it's not healthy. And so if your municipality simply has a broad ordinance that requires that walls and ceilings be in a safe and sound condition, one of the things we would like to put forward and maybe discuss a little bit is changing the checklists for your code enforcement officials to specifically add chipping and peeling paint. Because under this broad statute that calls for healthy maintenance and safe and sound maintenance, I think you could certainly say that chipping and peeling paint should be scrutinized and should be remediated. And it also, I think, goes back to something someone said a bit earlier too about education for code enforcement officials. And I think that if more code enforcement officials maybe had the experience like Mary Nixon had, getting to know a family where the child had been lead poisoned, or simply understanding about lead dust, how toxic it is, and how easily that our babies are poisoned, I think that it will be something that folks would really be on the lookout for. So I'm going to Mary, by any chance, did you come onto the call? Okay. And I'm going to stop talking in just a second and take some questions, and I'd love to discuss this. But I just want to say there is another option, which is a more proactive requirement for landlords. And these are ordinance, they are lead safe certifications for rental housing that are required in order to get rental licenses. And these ordinances are being passed in municipalities across the country. We've got several places in Pennsylvania that have passed these laws, including the Borough of Columbia and Lancaster and Philadelphia. And what these laws require is that in order for a landlord to get a rental license, you have to have a certified lead dust technician come into each and every property, and they have to inspect it. And then if there's lead above a certain level, then a landlord has to remediate that lead and before they can get their rental license. And so, for example, in Philadelphia, your lead safe certification is it's good for 4 years, right? And so every year when you go to apply for your rental license, you have to present the certification, and then after 4 years has elapsed, you have to get another one. And so this is really the most protective kind of ordinance or law that a municipality or a city could adopt, because it absolutely simply requires landlords themselves to proactively make sure that their apartments are lead safe for families that live in those apartments. It doesn't require the inspection, right? And then the enforcement, it's a proactive law. So I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to ask to start, if anybody has any questions about, this municipal code enforcement that I've been talking about.
I have a kind of it's kind of that question, but not really, does the school districts have reporting requirements? Not necessarily, the hour maintenance thing, but do they have any reporting requirements?
Reporting on whether they have lead in their buildings?
Well, also, but family homes, you know what I mean? So the safety of the children, if they hear it, I don't know if it's not.
Oh, I see. If they heard it.
Right, exactly.
Not to my knowledge. It's certainly something I could look into, but I don't think it's akin to like a child neglect or a child abuse report that if you knew that a house had chipping and peeling paint. I don't think that, I think if it were in conjunction with other unsafe conditions in the home, certainly, but as a standalone, I would doubt that. And then I think Dave Berman.
Yeah, a couple quick questions.
Yeah.
You hit it really quickly for the International Property Maintenance Code. You happen to know the section that we're relying on for the chipping and peeling paint?
I do not off the top of my head, but I have it downloaded on my computer, and I will be more than happy to send that out to everybody after the meeting.
Thank you. And the other question, with regard to the ordinance for the rental licenses that you mentioned at the end, you mentioned quickly the cities or the towns that have them. Do you have a sample that you would like us to refer to, just so we can share it with others here at the municipality?
Sure. So I'd be happy to send you a copy of the Philly lead law. And also what we've done too, we were earlier working with Yaden on possibly, kind of talking about them making this amendment. And so we prepared some language, and also actually for Haverford as well, Dave.
Well, maybe we have it already. I've only been here a short time, so.
I was working with one of your code enforcement officers, you know, to sort of see whether there was some interest. So I actually think I've got some language for Haverford that I could be happy to share with you. What we've realized, if you're thinking about, you know, making that change to your ordinance, is as opposed to using model language which might not fit in with a municipality's existing code, that we sort of, you know, take the requirements and make them fit into the regulatory scheme for an individual municipality. And PCCY is happy to help facilitate that for anybody who's interested. We've got pro bono attorneys who helped us do that. And so we're happy to tailor this kind of language for an ordinance change like that to your municipality. But Dave, I'll be happy to send you what we've got for Haverford.
Thanks, Beth.
Yeah, my pleasure. So if there's no more questions, I'm just writing myself a note. If there's no more questions, I'm just curious and would love to have a bit of a discussion about what you think of these code enforcement, you know, for using existing code enforcement, the kind of things that I was describing. Do you think that this is workable? Do you think that it could be beefed up in your municipalities? Do you think that, you know, how do you think that we start to get the word out in such a way to code enforcement officials, right, in a way that really promotes using what you've got to make apartments safer? Anybody have any thoughts on that? I mean, does it seem workable to municipal managers that this is something that something that you feel like you could help push out, that you could help sort of promote and facilitate within your municipalities, you know, the importance of educating code enforcement officials and also using what you have in terms of your municipal ordinances?
Absolutely. Down here in Fallcroft, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely the kind of thing that Mayor Keffer wants us doing in Upper Darby. I mean, we've spent a lot of the first year of the administration trying to increase capacity and vigilance among our code enforcement officials. Something that I would recommend is there's a PACO, P-A-C-O, the Pennsylvania Association of Code Officials.
Yep.
They have an annual meeting. I mean, obviously annual meetings aren't a thing with COVID, but I mean, once their annual meeting comes back, you could hit a lot of code officials in one room. And then if the code official goes back to the borough manager and says, hey, check out this thing that I learned, that's probably a pretty good way to do it also.
Thank you. And I'm just curious, do you think, you know, we have started some work on an education session that's specifically tailored to code enforcement officials. Do you think during COVID times that code enforcement officials would be amenable to getting on a Zoom like this? Or do you think that it's more sort of an in-person thing in terms of educating code enforcement folks?
Oh, I would say you got to just go for it now, because who knows when the next time, I mean, we might be on Zoom for the rest of our lives. Like, I hate to say that, but yeah, I would just go for it. Okay. Yeah.
I would say a lot of code officials would almost prefer to do it virtually rather than have to go someplace.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Can't speak on behalf of everybody.
Right. And I did present at PACO right after I started, just initially a little bit, and definitely I'm looking to get back there to present to a larger group of code enforcement officials. And so are there other
Beth, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, of course, Jordan.
For the municipal managers, do you see, or can you predict or make an assumption on what you perceive any barriers to be to enforcing something like this in your, or enacting something like this in your town?
No.
I like that answer.
That's a great answer. Yeah.
Now, does anybody else see barriers or resistance on the part of people?
I'll break the ice for people, Beth. Just so I'll play the devil's advocate here.
Okay, Jordan.
If I'm a landlord, right, and I live in Upper Darby, for example, and I've been renting 2 or 3 properties for a little bit of supplemental income for a couple of years now, and there's this new ordinance in place that says any chipping or lead or any chipping paint in my property will mean that I won't get a rental certificate, whether, I don't know if it's annual or at turnover, but say I won't get a rental certificate. So, you know, I don't like that, right? So I'm complaining. So do you perceive something like landlord pushback as being a potential barrier or anything like that?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Over here in Fallcroft, and we've had a really hard time. We weren't doing in-person inspections for a while for our use and occupancy. So, you know, we had a really hard time keeping people honest. I don't want to call any specific individuals out, but you know, it ran from large apartment complexes to small individual rental homes. People will absolutely try to circumvent any rule that they can, unfortunately, and you know, keeping people to honest is just something we have to keep up with. I direct our residents when they encounter landlord-tenant disputes to Legal Aid of Southeastern Pennsylvania. So something that we work in tandem with this for residents. They say, I have a landlord and, you know, I don't think that this place is safe. My landlord won't fix it. I mean, I think that's where it comes in. Maybe not even just the inspections, but the paint could start to peel after an inspection and they might not do anything about it until we force them. But something like that.
One thing to point out too, Andrew, is, and part of the reason we wanted to get you all together is, you know, if we are starting to really enforce even more carefully and more strictly chipping and peeling paint existing ordinances, or think about beefing up these ordinances, you know, that's what these HUD-led remediation dollars are for, right? So if you rent to tenants who would otherwise qualify, and you're a landlord and you realize, you know, you've gotten dinged, or you realize you're going to get dinged, then, you know, that's what these HUD programs are for, is to help landlords remediate these properties. And so that's one of the things that we're trying to get out, and the information that we're trying to get out through municipal managers to landlords, right? That this funding is available. So yeah, April, hi.
So I'm just curious also to speak to Jordan's behalf as well as the municipals. I think that's why it would be important that the tenants know their rights as well. I know that something that we do is, for my program, we do still hand out the lead flyers. You know, we're still talking about lead in our home visit. However, I think if we inform the community that these programs are available and you're working and you're saying, oh, I don't want to get my landlord in trouble per se.
Right.
If we can work together to get this done, because a lot of the programs are, you know, cost effective for the tenants to keep them safe, as well as for the landlords. It's like a win-win type of situation if they, you know, if they really want to continue to be a landlord in your municipal. So I think it's really important to even announce it. I actually talked about, and I live in one of the townships that's on the call, you know, talked about putting it on the social media platforms, you know, ahead of time. You know, let's start posting. I've personally posted it myself, but I know that it would be great if it's posted from you guys. Just letting the community know that these programs are available. I think, you know, someone was talking about, we had a whole lot of people and they weren't eligible. Almost everyone is pretty much can be eligible for this program. So I think if we just put it out here and, you know, just put the basic flyer that we all have, and, or I'm sure Beth will email it or Kylie, you know, that we all have, and then they can just call for follow-up information, and to call Beth or Colleen or even myself for follow-up information on how to get support. I think that would support the landlords, like, you know, everybody can win on this.
Yep, no, totally agree. Thank you, April. And I see, Colleen, you've got your hand up.
Thanks. I know we're coming to a close here, but I just wanted to ask about what Jordan and Vincent, what you guys are talking about and other folks about barriers. So landlords are a possible barrier. And I just want to, so my question is to understand how this would work. Vincent, you mentioned the mayor in Upper Darby. So in a municipality to, you know, go forward and use the protections that already exist, like for example, chipping or peeling paint or the international code. Is that who else would we need to talk to about this in order to, use the existing protections? Is it the mayor in the borough? Do you all oversee the code enforcers? My question is about how does it work? Who has who has the power to say we could do this?
Yeah, I think unfortunately one of the problems for Delaware County generally is we've got whatever it is, 45, 50 different municipalities with all different forms of government, right? Chester is our only municipality that's organized as a city. Upper Darby is by far our largest municipality and has a home rule charter with a strong mayor. We've got a lot of boroughs on the call. In the borough form of government, the mayor tends to not have that much power, although in some places the mayor has a very strong relationship with council and a very strong administrative responsibility. So I think the unfortunate answer is, like, in Upper Darby, yes, the mayor directs policy, and you would want to go to the mayor's office and say, Mayor, we need you to make this a policy priority for your code enforcement officers. But how that works in the other 45 municipalities in Delaware County.
Well, I think that would be a great reason to work with the other programs that are already meeting with the people. So, such as a program like myself or with DCIU or with early intervention, we're already in the homes. So those smaller programs or smaller boroughs or townships could just work with the community members that are already doing their work. So building relationships with programs that are already in charge, or not in charge per se, but are already meeting with the people. I think sometimes there's smaller townships, so it's, they worry about the bigger issues. But if they want to kind of pay, yes, you're going to do your codes part, absolutely. But if we can get to the people before it gets to a codes issue, oftentimes in these smaller townships, we don't know that information. I know the information that I participate in the different programs in the county. But if I don't know that specifically about there's a lead program out here, I think no one knows. So if you guys work with us, with DCIU, with early intervention, with people who are working with children already, it would make your lives so much easier. I think on the other hand.
Great. Thanks so much, April. And we are kind of winding down here. I really wanted to keep this to about an hour. Just a couple more things. Barbara, you had put something in the chat about the municipal managers meeting. So that was going to actually be one of my closing questions. Do you Delaware County municipal managers have an association or a group? Do you meet regularly? Could I come speak at your meeting? How can I work with the group that exists?
George Needles is the president or chairman of the COG. Nicole and I'm sorry, Nicole, I could give you his number.
Okay.
Contact him and, start the discussion with him.
Terrific. I will follow up with you after this meeting. So if does anyone else have any more comments or questions? And then I'm going to make a little bit of a plug for the Lead Coalition. So are there any other final comments or questions?
One thing with April, is there a list of all the organizations that would be appropriate to contact for this topic? I think that's what April's asking too. I mean,
there is several different lists. I know there's the Homeless Coalition, and for the most part, the people that are home visitors are on that list. There's a Homeless Coalition for Delaware County, and pretty much everyone is on that list, including myself. It's available. You can Google it. It comes up. Delaware County Homeless Coalition. The Survival Guide is what it's called.
Yeah, because the Housing Alliance has a landlord-tenant mediation program. So I didn't know if that was on there or not.
Yes, a lot of the resources are, there's a whole.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah.
And
Okay.
like, you know, if we send that out to the different boroughs so they know what programs are actually running in their community, that would be really
Right.
great. So
Yeah, that's what I was
we can
thinking.
all work together
Mhm.
to support the families within these communities.
Correct.
Right. I love that. I love that idea. And actually, we, you know, the coalition, we certainly have a list of organizations that we've been working with as well, but I'm quite sure it's not as comprehensive as it could be. So I really love the idea of working to put together a comprehensive list that we then get out to municipal managers, so you know who's working in your community with families and kids. So that's a terrific idea. Thank you so much for that. So I'm going to make a plug. This has been really helpful, and I want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining this meeting. Really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate your contributions and your insights. And this has really been so helpful in moving forward the work of the LED Coalition. And on that note, I would love to say, if any of you are interested in joining the LED Coalition, we would love to have you. And I put my information in the chat, but we will certainly be following up with a bigger email that has a lot of more information included that'll have my contact information. The LED Coalition meets on the third Tuesday of every month. Right now, we are meeting virtually via Zoom. So, you know, another Zoom meeting, but it makes it easy to get to. And we meet from 2 to 3:30. This month, actually, because we had this meeting today, our coalition meeting is actually next week, but in general, it's the third Tuesday. And your insights and your connections with your communities are so important. And so if any of you would like to join us on the LED Coalition, again, love to have you. So I think I'll just open it up one more time if anyone would like to say anything else. And if not, I think we'll close out the meeting.